Okay. All right. Looks like it's working. Let me mute my phone. All right, we're live.
We're live?
We're live.
I don't see it. Why don't I see it? There it is. We're live.
Sean, you want to start us off? Oh wait, Sean's not here.
Our video stream looks so
janky.
plain.
Yep. My good quality camera is still upstairs in my son's room. So I'm having to use
your streams?
Yes.
How did it go? How do you feel like it went?
I think it went well. It went pretty well. I had 5 cameras tuned in.
Did you switch between the cameras, or did you? Was it? I'm sorry I couldn't join. Posthumously apologizing, but I'm curious as to how you set it all up and what you did.
All right. So let's see. So I got the NES a couple days ago. I had it shipped quickly here so I could do something.
You have to specify.
All right. So let me back up. Sean, start the editing from here. We're going to start over. I got a little bit distracted by something.
Welcome to take 2 of the Making Geeks podcast.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Making Geeks podcast. This is the podcast for makers, dads, and geeks. Tonight, we have 2 people for your listening pleasure, myself and Donovan. Mm-hmm. We're kind of duo soloing the podcast. That doesn't sound right. No?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a 10 little Indian scenario. Yes. And now there were 2.
But welcome to episode 190. That's kind of crazy.
I know. 10 more episodes till 200.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
To back up, to reset the scene, to reset the stage, if you will.
So on August 1st, Nintendo announced, well, they announced it before that. On August 1st, Nintendo and Lego released several Nintendo-themed sets, one of which is the original Nintendo Entertainment System made out of Lego, with controller, the console, the game, and the TV, CRT TV, old school, VHF, UHF, like clicky knobs, everything. It's all one package. It's about 2,700 pieces. I was camping this past weekend when August 1st rolled around, and we had just enough internet where I was able to hit submit for that purchase. Paid for a quicker shipping than I probably should have. And apparently I ordered it just the right time because a lot of other people are saying that it's been sold out. It's being scalped on eBay for quite a bit more than what I paid. Mm-hmm. And I also ordered the Mario Brothers Adventure set, which comes with Mario, like a little electronic Mario that interfaces and interacts with the different parts, different tiles that come with the sets. All of these Nintendo-themed sets have some sort of interactivity with this main electronic Mario, which is, if you're not familiar with it, I can't even explain it well enough. I definitely recommend checking out the videos. They're pretty cool. But I ordered the NES set, had it expedited shipping, and I received that before the other set, which actually processed first. So I ordered it second, and it got here first. So the NES got here, that evening, I was trying to contemplate what to do with it. I had a feeling I wanted to do some like live stream and also capture the footage and make like maybe a review video or something. Since neither Nintendo or Lego felt it necessary to send me this kit, which is obviously built, with me in mind.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't be bothered to send me one, so I had to buy one like a peon, right? Well, I see all these other review sites that don't deserve it, but whatever. That's a different story.
That have had it for not a while,
yeah,
but
for a while, long enough to have reviews out already. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not afraid to shell out the money for it. It was kind of expensive, but I did it anyways. So I got the set, and I was contemplating setting it up here in the workshop where I usually do my Twitch streams. But I realized, and Catherine also brought to my attention, that I recently purchased a laptop that has enough power to do live streams and VR and all kinds of other stuff, that I should take advantage of this and actually stream it in a different location. So coincidentally, Grant wanted to have a sleepover in Samantha's room, which they do sometimes. And I have like a little camping cot that I move between their rooms when they want to do this. Mm-hmm. So he just wanted to have that set up coincidentally that evening in Samantha's room. That's perfect. I set up a pseudo studio with like the giant lights, the light boxes and everything that I recently got to have like proper lighting in there. I had 5 cameras set up. I had the camera that was built into the bezel of the laptop was honed in on my face. I had a Logitech camera that was super sketchily set up in like a gantry form looking down over top of this folding table that I had in Grant's room. And the significance of Grant's room, if for those of you that are not aware, the entire thing is painted up like Mario Kart. So there are 2 giant 12-foot long murals with Mario on the ceiling. Long-time listeners are tired of me talking about it. It's like my favorite project, but it was the appropriate place to do this. It lent itself perfectly. So I set up with cameras. I had the one gantry camera. I had a GoPro that was set in time-lapse video mode, taking a picture every 10 seconds, kind of at a different angle, or looking over the workpiece or the work area. I had a DSLR, which should be my primary camera, but it's not as reliable in these situations because I didn't have like an operator for it. So I just set it on a tripod, let it record like 20 minutes at a time. It would just do 20-minute blocks. So when I remembered, I would go hit record, but who knows if it's focused properly. My main attention was on the Twitch stream. So then I also had the 5th camera was another Logitech webcam, which they're great if you can find one. They're very scarce right now. Obviously on Amazon, everybody's doing web stuff, so they're nowhere to be found for the last 6 months. But I had that one kind of a little bit out of a diagonal as well, so it was a little bit more of a close-up of me and the workpiece and whatever I want to show the camera, kind of show the audience like they're looking from across the table at me. So each camera was like a little bit different, and I went in OBS. I used OBS, which is a web streaming video software that streams its content to Twitch or YouTube or what have you. And I kind of set up this it was kind of roughshod. It was not a lot of effort or time went into designing it or anything, but I got the logo, or the font of Lego downloaded so I could actually type the title, like building the NES or building the Lego NES set in Lego font, and actually colored it in Photoshop so it's got the red and the yellow borders and the outlines and whatnot. So it looks pretty proper. I was kind of happy with that. And then I had myself in the top left, and the main screen I could toggle with a button, and it would switch between overhead view which is a nice view kind of over all the work area, which I peppered with different Nintendo paraphernalia. So I had a Power Glove there. I had the NES Advantage control pad joystick over in the corner. I had the original Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt game over here. I had some other ones hidden off to the side, so if people mentioned different things, I could pull them out as a surprise kind of thing. And it was pretty cool. I could switch between the cameras based on what I was doing, and I started this around 11:30, 12 o'clock Eastern, and I didn't finish the entire set. I did have a couple breaks along the way, but we didn't finish streaming until right before midnight, so it was about 12 hours. I took a break for lunch. No, I took a break for dinner. Excuse me. I didn't take a break for lunch. I streamed right through that. And then around dinner time was a couple hours off. So it was a good long amount of time. And I wish that I had chosen a chair that was a little more comfortable.
Hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty cool. First, I tackled the NES console itself and worked that out based on people's suggestions. I was like, which part should I work on first? Because each part of this set had like a separate book. So the TV had its own book, and the NES set had its own book. Within that, it had the controllers and the cartridge and all that stuff. So we decided
Did
to do
the diorama that was inside the TV have its own book as well, or was that part of the...
It was part of the TV book. But they were quite thick. There was 21 bags that had numbers, but they had multiples of the same number, which was obnoxious. So they had sometimes they would have 2 or 3 number 7s.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was probably 40 bags. I didn't actually count them all, but it was a significant amount. And we just kind of chugged along on that for a while. A lot of people came in and out. Several listeners of the podcast, some other people that are in the community, some people I have not met. It was a lot of fun. Then, of course, right around dinner time, I was getting ready. Catherine had just gone out to get some dinner and bring it back. And she was on the way back when all of a sudden I started getting a flood of people. It was probably 50 people started joining at once. And apparently there's a Lego builder on the creative side that he decided to do a raid in Twitch where he basically, if he has a stream and he has a certain audience and he chooses to end his stream, he can take his audience and funnel them to another existing channel to sort of drive traffic to someone else since he's going offline. And so, right when she was supposed to come back with dinner, I was like, oh, this will be nice. I was ending that area, that point in the book. It was a good stopping point. And, here come 50 people that I need to entertain and, welcome and do all the dog and pony show. So luckily it kind of worked out the way that the timing was, but it was kind of stressful a little bit at the end there. And then the kids went to bed, and then Catherine joined me for the second half where we actually put the TV together for the stream, which she never did before, but I think she ended up liking. Nicole and Turi from MakingGeeksPodcast hopped in, several other people. I think she was picking on me a little bit, but Catherine seemed to enjoy someone else picking on me.
Nicole was picking on you?
Yeah. Which is not abnormal, but it was a lot of fun. And so we got it all together. And then as I was going to bed, several of the people that were in the audience, they were joking oh, when are you going to put a Raspberry Pi in there? Which is an obvious question. And I didn't really have an interest
in anybody that knows you, yes, it would be an obvious question.
That would be an obvious question. But I feel I haven't done a ton of emulator stuff, but I've done enough, and it doesn't really... It's not as interesting to me because it's kind of boring for me now. I want some sort of twist to it. But I realized that as I woke up this morning that I had all the parts here. And which is not...
The fact that you have an idea for something and you just so happen to have the parts.
That never happens.
Sitting around.
That never happens.
Just amazes me. I want to build a TV inside a Lego set. I just happen to have all the parts for this project just right here, which I have to ask. How did you have that monitor screen that you fit inside the Lego set?
All right, so I built a photo booth for a Raspberry Pi, what they call Raspberry Jam, which was in March of this year. I think it was February, I believe. February 29th on Leap Day. So Raspberry Pi, which I coincidentally have a sticker for that I'm holding up. Every year they have a event that you can sign up for that they'll help publicize on their own site, and it's basically like a Raspberry Pi awareness kind of thing, so people can bring any projects that they build individually to different locations throughout the world, whoever's hosting this event locally, to the people, and they can show up and have a spot on a table. And my local maker group and we organized one here in Cary in North Carolina, and so we had tons of Raspberry Pi stickers and badges and things. And the thing that I decided to make for this event was a photo booth using a Raspberry Pi, and the screen had a big button on it that people could walk up to, hit a button, had a webcam, it would take a picture of them. It would take several pictures where they could pose with these little things I got at Target with like little mustaches and glasses and hats on sticks. Took the picture, and it would take 3 of them, and it would upload it to a Tumblr account that I just created for my maker group. And it would just be like a long string of photos, just kind of like a photo booth. And it worked pretty well. It did a good job. And the screen that we used for the photo booth so they could see their own image to have enjoyment from this experience, that screen was a 4x3 LCD panel that has HDMI in, and it runs off of 5 volts. That's it. And I just so happened to have it, which it was almost the perfect dimension of that window that was on the fake TV. And I just went, when I woke up, I grabbed the monitor, went up there and held it behind it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this will actually work. So all that time that we spent putting all the mechanism inside for the little conveyor belt of endlessly repeating the Mario level, I ripped that out and sort of jankily put the screen in, and it was sort of like a proof of concept more than anything, just to do it first that I know of. And I said, hey, I'm going to do another Twitch stream for this. And Raspberry Pi retweeted it and said, hey, hurry up. Geeksmithing's getting ready to put a Raspberry Pi emulator inside of an NES, obviously. You know, like, obviously someone's going to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I started having other people show up that I had never met in the stream this morning. While I was it was a little bit before I was ready, because I hadn't done an emulator kind of project in a while, so some of the nuts and bolts of how to get the software on there, where to get the ROMs from, all the communication, like setting up the Raspberry Pi, I would like to do that ahead of time, because it's not the most interesting matter to demonstrate to somebody.
Yeah.
But
unless there's somebody that hasn't done it before.
That's true.
That is sincerely interested in doing it.
That's true. But I didn't have, I wasn't refreshed enough with it where I could feel I could instruct people very well. So I was a little bit muddling through some of it, so that was a little frustrating. But I got it done. I got the Raspberry Pi loaded. I got the image with RetroPie on there, and which is the software that kind of runs on top of the Raspberry Pi hardware that does all the emulator stuff. So it's got all the emulators for the NES, SNES, N64, Genesis, arcade systems. And then you have to supply the game ROM itself, which I happen to have a folder with a bunch of them in there from previous projects. So I just picked the one NES copy of Super Mario Brothers, transferred it over, and I wanted to use like an NES controller, but I had like an old school USB Microsoft Sidewinder joystick, which is a brand they don't even make anymore. And it happened to pick it up. That's the only one I had on hand, embarrassingly. I got it working, and I ordered a pair of NES controllers that are USB. They should be here Saturday, so I can actually interface that and actually do a couple more shots with it, having more Nintendo theming, as if I couldn't already have
from 8-Bit Dough.
No, I think they're even more generic than that. There's something that was on Amazon. It was like $10 for 2 of them, I think. So,
gotcha.
Just for there wasn't enough Nintendo in the shot with the Yoshi painting in the background and the Mario on the ceiling and the Nintendo Lego set. I had to add more Nintendo to it, right? So I finally
just the background alone, the fact that you had this entire room themed in Mario while building a set for Mario Brothers, it was perfect. It was like a full circle.
But it was funny because several people, I think they thought I did like a green screen background kind of thing, like you do in Zoom. So I think a lot of people didn't really even bat an eye at the background. A lot of people didn't even ask. Or when I like pointed at, like brought attention to it, it was not as impressive until I start taking the camera and like panning it around, showing all the different views and stuff. And people were the people that had joined from that raid that had never heard of my stuff before, they were their brains, I think, were a little bit melting when I started like showing that. And I had like a Rob the Robot there and a zapper gun and like all the Nintendo stuff. And they're like, oh my gosh, what is that? What did it do? And it was pretty funny. I even had a point where I actually put the Power Glove on, and there were like these little fiddly bits of like the Lego 1x1 squares and tiles and stuff, and that was really hard. It was like an astronaut trying to work on the space station, trying to get those things on there. So I did that for a little while just for the heck of it, but it was a lot of fun. It turned out well. And then I got the Nintendo up and running. I got it all back together with a screen and did a little YouTube video with zero editing, zero titling, zero anything, just as like a little teaser just to say, here, I did it. Now, I didn't open it up and show the internals of the Raspberry Pi or anything, but you can see the little Mario running across the screen. I didn't have a speaker hooked up to the Raspberry Pi yet. I didn't have one here on hand. So I took the electronic Mario, which has interfacing with different tiles. When he detects different tiles, he starts playing the music and having the sound effects. So I just took him and activated him. And he's like, oh, here we go. And it was the first level of Super Mario Brothers. And it was almost like you couldn't even tell. Unless you were listening for like the Goomba stomp sounds or the coins or other things. But it kind of was just enough. And he's like, his face is all animated. You can see him on the shot and everything. It was pretty cool. So overall,
so what is your your plans for this? It's to make a full build video,
just
specifically
like a review video.
For building it like from start to finish, or just the workings of putting a functioning Raspberry Pi inside the set.
I think I'll probably have that at the end. Where the focus wasn't originally supposed to be anything electronic as far as Raspberry Pi, anything, right? It was just more of a product review kind of video, which I've done a couple of in the past. I did a Nintendo Labo review, which I enjoyed doing. It wasn't a high-performing video by any sort, but it was just it was a different format than I've been used to making. And so I wanted to do one with this product as well, because obviously it's of interest to me. And I would love to show up on their radar for them to send me free stuff. That would be great. So I assume I need to walk the walk before, it's a real thing. So I'm just going to do like a quick little review video of it and just feature the time lapse and some other pieces extracted from the Twitch stream and other shots just to make something. And then I'll do some other B-roll with me manipulating it, the finished piece and showing how it works and everything. And then say something along the lines of how you can also... by the way, I can't not put other electronics in this. Here's an example of something you could do. Here's some other ideas that you could take this idea and build upon. Lego pun intended. Yeah. You could add LEDs and actually make functioning buttons, and there's lots of different directions you could go with it. So it's just sort of like a platform to invent on, right?
Yeah. Is the plan going to be to have like a self-contained unit for the Raspberry Pi inside of the TV so that you can take it out and put the Lego innards back in it? That would be awesome.
That would be cool. I don't know how much more... Like, let's see, there's tons of rabbit holes you can go down. I put the least amount of effort in this part where I'm like almost literally stuffing the monitor screen in there and the Raspberry Pi. The hardest part to put in there...
You can't see it.
You can't see it.
It doesn't show up on camera.
No. Was like the HDMI cable that had a coil to fit in there because it's only going at like 6-inch distance at least. But it's like a 3-foot cable, 4-foot cable. So I'm having to coil it and it's trying to like expand and like blow the Nintendo set apart because like some of the panels are like barely on there. So I had to like reinforce it with other pieces that weren't normally part of the set so it wouldn't like blow the top off like a birthday cake with a dancer inside, So you could definitely go along the route of building up the like actual holder for it and making either a solid place for it to live in there, or like you're saying, like a giant cartridge of here's the electronic thing to drop in there. That would be super cool if I could come up with something like that. But I don't know where the level of where I would stop at, because I could keep going. I could keep adding.
You'd have to adjust it to be able to fit all of the electronics and the Pi and the speaker
and the cords
inputs.
and yep.
Yeah.
I mean, currently I have 3 cords coming out of it. I have the 2 power cords going in, and then the 1 cord coming out for the controller. You could do a Bluetooth controller. We would eliminate one of those cords. You could have, instead of the 2 power cords coming in, you could just do 1 power cord with a USB hub, because they're basically 2 USB powered devices. The screen is 5 volts, and also the Raspberry Pi, as long as the hub can supply enough juice. So they're kind of power hungry devices. So at worst, you could even do like an extension cord that went in there. It's a little sketchy, but you could do an extension cord. So there's 1 cable going in, and then they kind of just all pigtail off of that. Like I say, you could do an infinite number of things. You just I don't know if I'm willing to put in that much effort. Since I've technically already done it, I've put a Raspberry Pi in there. Here's the initial part of the idea. You, as a viewer, can take it and iterate on it. I think that might be all I want to do. Considering it wasn't the thing I wanted to do.
So you've gotten your content far out of it, and now you're ready to move on to bigger and brighter things.
Yeah, it was something I didn't even want to do in the beginning, in the first place. But I figured I got the stuff here, I might as well do it. Might as well be me for once. Because it seems ridiculous in one way, because it seems not really beneath me, but it's like I say, it's kind of a boring thing to put a Raspberry Pi with an emulator in a thing that's just been done to death. For those that have never done it before, it could be intimidating. But it is a great project if you've never done a Raspberry Pi project at all. It's a great starter to kind of dip your toes in it and kind of figure out how it works. Definitely, from that point of view, it's good. But I think some of my projects, I like to think they're a little bit beyond that and a little more interesting, have some sort of twist to them, whether I submerge the electronics in cement and it takes me 16 times to get it right. That's a little more interesting. But, I don't know. I think I beat this horse to death, this Yoshi to death. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I was kind of heartbroken that I missed out on this entire.
So why did adventure. You not join? I was disappointed not to see you. I was like, surely Donovan, who joins the Minecraft server multiple times a day, could stumble in on here to say hi or something. I mean,
I did. Well, I got the notifications on my phone. But it was funny because every time I got a notification on my phone, it's like, hey, Geeksmithing is now live on Twitch. I'm like, that's great. I'm in the middle of a warehouse right now.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get these computer stations that have been sitting in dust and debris for the last 5 years, spiffed up and looking brand new, because at work, we have this, representatives from a Japanese company coming in tomorrow, and we're trying to prep for a big showing and staging everything and making everything look nice, and they wheeled out these carts that have literally been like sitting in the back of a shop for 5 years, collecting dust and metal and scrap and bits and all kind of stuff. And they're like, hey, can you clean this up so we can see if it works, so we can use it out over here and place this on. So that's what I was busy doing. I'm sorry.
During this 12-hour period? Because I did stream at night,
No, I didn't realize you were on that entire time. I just got the notification when you went on in the afternoon, and then when you went on around dinner, which is when I was going home. And
I'm just giving you a hard time because I can.
Yeah, I didn't even think to check. I'm like, oh, great. Like, this is probably going to be one of these things where I'll jump on and I'll be at the end of it.
Yeah.
I did not realize you were going to be on for 12 hours.
One person joined right when I finally put the literal last piece on the entire, like the build last night when I was doing all the pieces. I was on the last step on the last page of the last book, the last bag. Click, he jumps in. Oh, wow, yeah, I've been looking forward to seeing somebody stream this. I'm like, dude, I just literally finished. I'm like, let me crank the thing for you, and you can see the animation. I have nothing for you, man. I'm going to bed. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
You can watch 12 hours of replay or something.
I did watch the YouTube video. That was pretty exciting.
Thank you.
And as much as you say that like it's a boring process for you, like I saw the look on your face in this video.
That's fair.
And like
it was cool.
playing, were you playing it backwards, like in a reflection?
Yeah. So I had my laptop set up, and I was looking at the recording of the scene in the screen of the laptop. So it has a delay, which is why I could not hit the 1-up for anything at the end. At the end of that first little section. And I'm just like, I can't even. Like, I was surprised I even stomped the Goomba and hit the right spot for the mushroom to pop out, honestly, because I had played it a little bit before that, and there was like a quarter or half-second delay, and it's just impossible to play that. So I look like a buffoon for some of it, I'm sure, but yeah. It was
I understood the fact that you were probably playing in reverse.
Yeah. So that's when I was like, oh, okay, well, let me talk a little bit more because I can't hit this 1-up, and that's embarrassing because I've been doing it for 30 years. I should be able to do that. But that little bit of delay is just enough. And then I was multitasking, trying to think of what I was saying. It was a lot of pressure.
And it was one shot. Like you said, no
editing. It was
editing.
one shot, no editing. That took me two attempts. And that was the second try with no cuts, which was all right.
Yeah. So for a project like this, which is a combination of Lego and Nintendo.
Yeah.
Is it like the perfect West thing?
It's up there. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed having Catherine work on some of it with me as well, because that doesn't really happen that often. And it was enjoyable. And seeing like a lot of people come in. Like there was a person that joined that I used to work at Best Buy with like 12 years ago or more. I hadn't talked to him since. He moved away and all this stuff, and he just happened to stumble in. It was pretty cool. So I had a person that is a brother of someone I was in the Navy with, like in 2001. So it's crazy.
Ah.
Yeah, you never knew who would stumble in there. And also the build itself had like several cool moments, and there was an Easter egg that I would implore you, if you're listening and you're interested in this set, do not read about it. I won't even show it in my video because I don't want somebody to spoil it. I want to show it, but also don't want somebody to get spoiled because I did not know about it, and I'm so glad that I didn't. As I naturally discovered it as I was building it, this Easter egg kind of like materialized in front of me. I'm like, wait, are they do it? Oh, that's awesome. And it's like the coolest feature, the coolest little nugget in this whole build of like 2,700 pieces.
A hidden feature in the build, or like something that
it's a Mario Brothers Easter egg hidden within the build that you have to like do a certain thing to show it off. Like if I could show you on camera and you'd be like, oh, that's cool that they put this little element in there, that whoever thought, hey, there's this little space that we could do something in that's normally covered up. And yeah, as I'm like building, I'm like, what is this that I'm building? This doesn't make any sense, because a lot of times on the inside of Nintendo parts or Nintendo builds, there's lots of different colors and details and things that you're never going to see because they're like obscured or completely covered up by the shell, or like the Apollo 13 stuff. There's all this miniature detail that is part of the set, but some of it is unnecessary because you're never going to open it up and see it again. This is sort of like one of those things, although it's easier to kind of remove and show off if you wanted to get somebody interested. But
so like a hidden Mickey inside of
there's a hidden
like
Mickey
a Nintendo
yes,
set.
And it's fantastic.
That is cool. I am hopeful that one day I will be able to get this set. I knew if I didn't pre-order it, I probably wouldn't get it, because when it comes to anything Nintendo, at least it seems,
it's so hard to get.
I watched a video one time. It was a video essay on amiibos specifically, but talking about Nintendo and how they purposely, the U.S. market specifically, not the rest of the world, but the U.S. market, they limit the amount of stuff that they release, like the amiibos, where you can go anywhere else in the world and get any amiibo you want in a store for $15, but here in the U.S., scalpers buy them out and then they resell
just to generate a buzz and like
on eBay for. I was looking at the the Breath of the Wild amiibo, and somebody locally is selling them here for $125 an amiibo. And I was like, what?
Which one is
that
it?
That is insane. It's the Champions.
Oh.
And I'm just like, I don't. It's terrible because like there are so many fans of Nintendo, myself included. So when it comes to something cool like this that's exclusive and a little bit higher priced, which is why I didn't pre-order it and didn't buy it, because I'm like, it's a little too expensive. Yeah, a little too expensive. I was like, I'm hopeful one day I can get it, but probably not.
It seems like maybe it's just my perception of it, but it just seems like after they have a release of one of these hard to find sets, that they discontinue them pretty quickly. By the time you finally feel like you can get around to getting them, there's like discontinued product, or like no, or retired product, or whatever.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people say that about the Voltron, because like, I won't get it now. Maybe I'll get it for Christmas next time, or around the corner. And then that here it comes around the corner, and it's no longer there, and it's on eBay after they discontinue it for like triple the price.
Yeah, which is funny because it's like the second I woke up on the 1st, when I knew that the Nintendo NES Lego set was going to be out, I'm like, I've got to check eBay just to see if there's already people on there selling the set on eBay. And sure enough, there was. I was like, you can buy it new for, what was it, $360?
I want to say it was $230.
$230? Are you sure it was that?
That's what I'm telling Catherine, so hopefully. Is that right? Let's see.
$230. Okay, no, maybe you're right. $230. Yeah. But looking on eBay, there's already people trying to sell it for $860, I think, for that set. There's always crazy. The ones that overprice. True, on eBay, there's always the ones that overprice stuff. Like when the Switch shortage started happening at the beginning of the pandemic. I shared this on our Discord because I thought it was hilarious, of somebody selling a used Switch Lite for $1,800. Yeah. And the description was lightly used, well worth the price.
They said that this quarter, Nintendo was over 400% profits for just this quarter.
Yeah. Which is not surprising.
Yeah. $230.
Yeah. High demand.
Plus the Mario Brother electronic thing, which is a $60. Yeah, it's.
And there's like 15 different add-on.
Yeah, I feel that's going to be like the amiibo thing, and I just lose interest. Yeah. I do have some amiibo, but that game, I don't really like to play that game with the having to wait in line, like at a store open on a certain date to get the Nintendo thing. I've done that a couple times, and I see the people. I know what they're doing when they're buying. They're like, how many of these can I buy again? Like, obviously, you're going to scalp it. And you're the reason that no one can get them. Mm-hmm. So I've never done that, and I won't do that, just because I feel like I'm better than that. And I know that it's negatively impacting other people for my gain. And I'd rather have people have it and enjoy it than me make a quick buck. So, I don't know.
You're a good man.
I try. When it comes to Nintendo stuff, I have a heart and I have a moral code. Everything else is out the window, but Nintendo, do no harm.
Yeah.
I'm like the Batman for Nintendo stuff, right?
You're one rule.
That's right.
And in terms of teams, like you are Team Nintendo. There's no question about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's hard to deny that.
So you've collected like all the. Is there any other system that you've collected as passionately, or to any degree like you have Nintendo?
No. There's some Nintendo like handheld Nintendo consoles that I don't have, like various versions of Game Boys and Game Boy Micros and all that stuff. I don't have a complete or even anywhere near a complete collection of that. And I don't really typically like having boxed unopened versions of things.
Mhm.
Kind of like I'm not really so far into that where I'm like the dad in the Lego movie where he's like, you can never play with any of the stuff on the shelf. I'm not to that point. Like I do have it displayed. I don't want them to, run over it when my kids like completely destroy the room that the stuff is in, but I want everything to be at least playable, or you can like maybe take it out of the box if there is a box, which are very rare to have a box version of a game that you can take it out. I don't have really that many that are shrink wrapped or mint or anything. Even like Virtual Boy stuff, all of them are playable. I find more value in it being able to play it. I know there are some people that disagree with that, but
No, that's because
yeah.
why
have it?
why have it?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just a museum and you're like,
Mhm.
here, look at this pretty thing that you can never touch.
I mean, I have a couple
This
things
thing
like
that was meant
but
to be played, you can.
yeah, exactly. Just think of all the enjoyment that you would have if you're allowed to play this. No, that's just evil. But I do have a couple games that are still new. Let me try to think. There was a Super Mario All-Stars, I think, that came out for the Wii. Is that right? It was like an anniversary edition.
What all like the NES game All Stars?
I try to remember.
Super NES game?
I don't think I even opened it.
I know you've gotten the Legacy Collection for X-Men recently. Not X-Men, but Mega Man, right?
Yes.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
I know you got Mega Man X2,
Yes.
right? And X3.
There we go. Yeah, there's a Super Mario All-Stars for the Wii. I don't even know why I bought that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. They're like remastered. They're like 4 levels deep of remastering. Yeah,
But in terms of this collection, like what is your oh yeah.
I have a version of that that's unopened. I also have a Skyward Sword that had the gold Wiimote that came with it. I have one of those that's still in the box. Catherine happened to buy 2 of them for me because she thought I would like to have one that's not opened. And I don't usually do that, but for that item, I do have that one squirreled away. So I have like probably less than 5 items that are brand new, but most of them are playable.
Is there something that's in your collection that you're like, I probably spent too much on that?
That can be said for a lot of the Virtual Boy stuff because those things are pretty widely panned and not very valued, which is part of the reason I like it because it's like a conversation piece and it's like an oddball and I kind of like the underdog of some of the stories, and like who doesn't, right? Like a lot of the Star Wars, it's like the underdog kind of feeling. But yeah, like there was I'm sure I've mentioned it on here before, but there was a Waterworld Virtual Boy game, which is about as good as you imagine it would be. At the time, that was expensive. Now it's probably even more on eBay. I think that was like $150.
Just for the cartridge?
Just for the cartridge, like loose copy with no manual, no anything, because they sold so few of that console in general. And obviously, there were so few copies of Waterworld sold for this undersold platform as well, because it's Waterworld. It makes the price of that one, supply and demand, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was another one called Jack Bros, which is not really that great of a game. None of the games are really that great. Waterworld is especially horrible. But that one was.
Is there
over
any
$100.
game on the Virtual Boy that you're like, yeah, that's worth playing?
There's a Wario game for the Virtual Boy, which is really good. It's a Wario platformer.
Yeah.
Great. It's really good. I've never beaten it because you do have to kind of stay hunched over with your face in like a black hole. So it's not the most comfortable system. You can lay back on a bed and have the visor on your forehead, kind of laying back, and it's actually pretty comfortable in that way. But it's so dark in there, you actually have a tendency. I have a tendency to fall asleep if I play it like that. I haven't done that in a long time, but the Wario game's pretty good, and the 3D effect for a lot of the games is considering it's just red and black graphics, it is convincing. It does work, which is part of the reason I like it. It does do what it's supposed to do, but it's kind of hard to sell the system when it only has like one color or like so many grades of one color available. You're like, how good could this look? I even have the Nintendo Power that was for the Virtual Boy that talks about like how awesome the system is. You know how they kind of oversell even like a polished turd kind of thing, and that's basically kind of what it was. But it's great. There's even games in there that they talked about that never got released because they just put that system on the chopping block because no one wanted it. But that being said, like the technology in it is really clever, and even modern like VR sets and stuff don't use the same display technology that used, because it's really neat. So you put the thing on, there's 2 displays in there, and each display, it's an array, it's a single stripe of pixels. It's 1 pixel wide and like I think 224 pixels high. So you have like 2 stripes of LEDs, and there's a pair of mirrors that oscillate at a certain frequency. And as the mirrors oscillate, they're bouncing this string of LEDs across your eye, basically, and changing the content of the LEDs as it's going like this, kind of like the bicycle spoke animations.
Yeah.
But it's going like this, side to side. So that's what actually gives it its width in the display, is how far the reflected array of pixels is going in your eye. It's crazy. And of course, it's only red because at the time, the other colors were way more expensive to manufacture. I'm curious if they could do it today, how much more effective or affordable it would be. But yeah, that's how it works. And it just kind of oscillates these mirrors at such a rate to give you the illusion, the persistence of vision of screens. And of course, because it's 2 eyes, each one is slightly different to give the 3D effect based on different elements that are coming at you. And it does work. Like there's a Mario Tennis game. It looks like the ball's coming at you. Like it's pretty convincing, considering what it is. So next time we have any sort of meetup, I will bring it. I have a carrying case for the Virtual Boy if you've never played it. Blockbuster actually allowed you to rent the Virtual Boy back in the day because no one had them, but they had the games, and it was like a Nintendo thing that they had like some sort of agreement with. And they had these black like Pelican cases basically that had like the foam that was cut out for each piece that opened up. They never sold it in the stores, and I, of course, had to buy one on eBay.
Of course.
So I actually took that when I went to Cape Canaveral many years ago for a rocket launch under Geeksmithing. It was like one of the first things I did under the Geeksmithing name that someone, like I applied for this NASA social event. I didn't expect to be selected. I did get selected to go down to Cape Canaveral to watch a rocket launch. They had like different social media people from across. They had like makeup enthusiasts. They had like YouTube channels and stuff. They chose like all kinds of different people across the spectrum of interest to sort of show like the diversity of people interested in the space program. So long story long, I was in front of the vehicle assembly building, which is like this giant iconic structure at Cape Canaveral or at Kennedy Space Center. And I had a picnic table set up with the Virtual Boy, and I had that in the background, like of all the things I could possibly be doing at Cape Canaveral, where you're supposed to be looking up. It wasn't during the rocket launch, the literal launch, because that would have been a waste of time. But it's just kind of funny to have me playing the Virtual Boy. I have some footage of me playing it, which is just ridiculous.
You'll have to share that. That's probably fantastic.
It is. But I'll bring it next time. I promise. The next time we have a meetup in the next 2 years, when this whole thing is over with.
In the after times?
In the after times. That would be nice.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
What are some weird things I have? I told you about the DuckTales NES stuff, right?
Refresh my memory.
So there was how long have we been streaming? I've lost count.
50 minutes.
All right. So there was a contest. So, okay. Back several years ago, Capcom re-released DuckTales, the NES game. They remastered it, if you remember that. They kind of redid the graphics, released it on all the platforms. And they had this media kit that they put together. It was like a metal lunchbox that they sent out to all the different like media representatives to sort of hype up the audience. And inside of this, they had shredded money as packaging. And they had little slips that they made that were similar to the pamphlets that were in like old VHS tapes, like the clamshell ones that you would get from Disney or Warner Home Movies. That would open it up, it would say, "This spring, here are some other things that are available." They had other like Capcom titles at that time when the original DuckTales came out in the game. They had like remade all these little things that inserted in there just to kind of sell it. And they actually had an original NES cartridge that they had refinished to look like it was made out of gold. They had the different label on it for the remastered DuckTales. It was actually a playable cart on the NES that had the original NES DuckTales on it. And on the back, they had all the different, I should grab it. They had all the different warnings on the back where it says, "Don't use a solvent to clean this game." And it said, all the warnings, "Don't blow into the cartridge." And at the bottom, it says, "Life is like a hurricane." So they have like all these little Easter eggs. And even in the paraphernalia, they had stuff like referencing Duckburg and all these other things. And like the Beagle Boys. And it was awesome. And they had a certificate of authenticity. I think they only had around like 150 of these made. And I, of course, wanted one, but you couldn't buy it anywhere. It was not available. It was only sent out to like Kotaku and, game reps that couldn't care less after they did their little spiel about it coming out. I'm sure they just went into a pile of other merch from other game places. So during this time, after the game it had come out for a couple weeks, but they're still trying to keep the hype going, Capcom had a contest where you could either create a YouTube video of you singing the DuckTales theme song, or you could create custom as I shake my head, or you could create custom art that featured either classic Capcom games with DuckTales characters superimposed, like reimagined in those other Capcom games, or you could take a Capcom character and DuckTalize them and put them in like a scene or some other thing that you create. So you could go either way with it. So you could take Mega Man, put him in the DuckTales world, or like I did, I took the artwork on Bionic Commando for the NES. There was like a guy rappelling. I took Launchpad and like superimposed him in the same pose like he's rappelling, like on the game art. And you could enter it as many times as you wanted to. So I think I did 3 entries. I'll have to find them. I've got them on my computer. I found them a few weeks ago. But there was the Bionic Commando one and 2 others, and I submitted them. And sure as heck, I actually won. And the prize, they send you the extra kits that they had. They had a couple of them left. I don't know how many they gave out, but I've got one. And it arrived like a week later. I had a package on my doorstep that was labeled Capcom. It had Chun-Li, a picture of Chun-Li in the return address on the package, which I kept. And I had my name. I'm like, "It's a package from Capcom." Like my 12-year-old self would be crapping themselves right now. This is awesome. I opened up, and sure enough, there's like the DuckTales. I'm going to go grab it. Let me show you. That's cool.
Okay.
All right. For those of you watching at home, you'll get a little treat.
For those of you listening on the podcast, Wes has just walked away from the microphone in the middle of streaming, and it's left me here alone, all by myself, to talk to you all by myself. So, welcome to this one-on-one section of the Making Geeks podcast, the podcast for makers, dad, and geek. Oh, that wasn't too long. I was gonna go off on this whole sultry monologue doing one-on-one time with audience, and I didn't realize it was just off screen. Never mind. Welcome back, Wes.
All right, I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
So here you go. From the crappy webcam version here. So it's a
That is fantastic.
metal lunchbox with a nice DuckTales art on it. You open it up. Let's get some nice ASMR action going here. So there's like shredded money along the side. There's a certificate of authenticity. There's several little pamphlets. And then the cartridge. I got to shake the shredded money off because it's like the money bin.
Yeah.
Right?
Jeez.
It says, caution, do not store in extreme temperatures, do not immerse in water, and life is like a hurricane, 1985 Nintendo on the back.
Is it the same gold like the Zelda gold cartridges?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep. And let's see. Let's open up some of the paraphernalia. So any DuckTales fans out there would enjoy this. So they sent the certificate of authenticity, which this is 74 out of 150. And on the back, they had codes for every system that I could download it on. Complimentary DuckTales Remaster. At the time, I already purchased it, of course. There's a coupon here for 50% off green cheese of longevity. It looks like something out of the video game. Offer valid only at participating Duckburg grocery store locations. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limit 1 coupon per customer. Void if copied, transferred, or sold. And it says, danger, may contain mercury. It's so weird. Expires 2013. Okay. It's pretty expired. Then there's another little pamphlet here. Kind of like an album list. And you could like order fake CDs of music that don't exist from DuckTales. It says Quackity Quack featuring Two Quack, Snoop Ducky Duck, Huey, Dewey, Louie and the News, Michael Quackson, Beagle Street, Ducklings, Two Ducks. Oh, I get it now. Boys to Men. The Fresh Prince of Duckburg. And then it says join all your favorite artists as they celebrate Duckburg's chart-topping hits. It's a musical spectacular where Michael Quackson performs his epic rendition of the Moon music, and Street Smart 2 Quack raps our favorite theme, and that's just the beginning. Timely yet timeless. It's a collection you'll simply be quackers about. For $9.99 on cassette, or now on compact disc for $19.99. Own it today. And then there's
so many puns.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. And there's one other fold-out pamphlet that has add these Capcom favorites to your collection. There's the original Mega Man art, the terrible dude on it, which if you've never seen that, it's completely garbage. Mega Man 3, Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight, which is an NES game that is very weird and strange. Ghost and Goblins, Bionic Commando. Yeah. And it's got like a little Uncle Scrooge pixelated. It's great.
You know, if we never do this for the podcast,
yes,
I'm just saying this now.
Yes,
there needs to be a video of like Cribs, but Wes's game room, because that would be amazing. If we can't do it on the podcast, it needs to be a video so that everybody could see like how geektastically awesome your everything
I need to soup it up a little bit if I'm going to have cameras in there.
Yeah.
I've never really shown it that much on camera. But and
we
it's
can
not
make it happen.
It's not the most expansive collection, but there are like little nuggets of coolness in there.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example right there.
I'll have to save some of the other nuggets for another date, as Sean often says. Because that about wraps it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm obviously geeking out about my Lego Nintendo stuff. What are you geeking out about?
It has been raining here in Oklahoma. I haven't had a lot of opportunities to work on the playhouse because the playhouse is outside in the rain. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's kind of a good thing that it's been raining, but it's because it's given me an opportunity to find leaks. Little, not huge, but just little leaks in the playhouse that I need to take care of to kind of weather seal it a little bit more.
You don't need iron boots to go in there or anything, do you?
No, I don't need iron boots to go in there.
That's good.
But I am so, because when I was building this playhouse, I built it kind of platformed on bricks, and I got comments on Instagram when I was doing that. It's like, well, why aren't you just putting it on the ground? I'm like, because of rain. Because when it rains here, like there's literally a pool of water just right outside the front door of the playhouse. And if it wasn't up on bricks, it would be it would be underwater. So it hasn't been productive in terms of trying to get this playhouse done because I really want to get it done. Really want to get it done. But I've been working on the stuff that's going in the playhouse, and I'm working on this. If you can see it on the live stream, it's a little Zelda vase that is all broken apart and magnetized because it's a breakable vase that you can reassemble. And I've got rubies to put inside of it, and it's going to be one of those little
details,
those little extra details that are going into the playhouse where you literally have a vase that you can bust open and get rubies out of.
Those little details are what make it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's cool. I've been having so much fun on this project. It's hard for me to figure out what I'm going to do next beyond this project, just because I've devoted so much energy into it, and it's yet to be done, and I'm just focusing all of my creative endeavors on it. That it's the only thing I can think about right now. So I'm kind of geeking out about the little things like magnetic breakable pots.
I sent you a little package as well.
Yes, you did. It is so cool. You have no idea how much fighting my children have done over the Lego stamp. It's
I didn't think that one through. I'm sorry.
Wes is contributing to this Playhouse project he laser cut the Hylian script that's going to be glued on the sign that goes in front of the Playhouse. That's going to say Ethan's house, and under it I'll have to hand paint it or something. It's going to have made by me, to be as true to the game as possible. But he also, with this Hylian script, sent me 2 stamps with my logo on it. One very nice walnut.
Maybe it might be sapele. I don't really know. I don't remember.
Yeah,
it's some
very nice,
wood that
pretty hardwood, gorgeous stamp like by itself. And then he sent me a stamp that was made out of Legos.
They're featured in the video that I made, so I had to send them to you.
And oh my gosh, my kids have been fighting over that stamp because it's so cool. So I've been geeking out about that. They've been geeking out about your Lego stamp because they think it's the coolest thing in the world.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you, sir.
You're
amazing.
I'm glad to help. And
well, should we end it?
I think we should end it. That was a good one. It went by fast.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun talking about Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the time, I'd keep going.
I know. Sean isn't here to kick it off. I'm blanking on what he says.
We've only been doing this for 190 episodes.
190 episodes. So thanks for joining us, everybody, for this slightly minimalized version of the Making Geeks podcast, the podcast for makers, dads, and geeks. You can find us both on social media. Wes can be found. Oh my gosh, he can be found on Twitch. He can be found on Instagram, on YouTube. His content is all over, and it is worth seeing. If you have not seen it, you need to go watch it. Find him at Geeksmithing, and that could be found at Once Upon a Workbench.
And we'd like to take this opportunity to thank our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for their financial contributions that keep us online and keep this show on the air, especially all of our top patrons. We thank you guys so very much for your support. And we appreciate you.
Yeah. And like Josh would say, from all of us to all of you, have a fantastic week.
Including the people in our live stream.
That joined at the last minute. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
And scene.
And scene.